Guys, I'm legit crying. Oda has finally tied his years-long knot of his masterpiece foreshadowing. And Oddball's deep prediction hockey was right all along.
Nani?
That's right, Luffy is Joyboy.
No way.
Previously,
Where you will see why Joyboy cannot be Momo but it has to be Luffy. I explained this already in our collab with Ohara, where I debunked the idea that Momo is Joyboy and why Luffy is the only one that can be Joyboy if we follow the prophecy of the Sea King that Roger and Odin heard. Welcome back everyone, time to go Steve! You guys know how much I was yapping time and time again on how Luffy is Joyboy and is the very same prophesized sovereign we learnt about through the Sea King's prophecy. In fact, like I mentioned so many times, this prophecy is completed with Luffy meeting Shirahoshi and the Potter Whales being overwhelmingly excited was a testament to this. But now in chapter 1043, Oda revealed Luffy's awakening with his heart beating as loud as a drum, his hair melting with a silent smile, the very smile we all expected from Joyboy.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure?
Alright, calm down guys, calm down. But in this video, we are going to continue from our previous one on how Luffy's devil fruit is not the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Rather, it's related to a Wisdom King Zoan fruit, which gives him a multitude of abilities related to that creature. Now, I know a lot of you guys pointed out, if it's not rubber, then how did Luffy insulate lightning against Inoru-sama? Anime balls team! Hey, listen, relax. The point I was making was that Luffy does in fact have the properties of rubber, or should I say oil. Okay, we'll get to that more in a bit. However, what I was trying to get at was that Luffy's Wisdom King fruit gave him the ability of a Wisdom King, which is not limited to stretching, inflating, insulating lightning, being inflammable, and so on and so forth. Similar to Kaido's and Marco's fruit, they themselves also have multitude of abilities which relates back to the source of its Zoan creature. Like, take Yamato for instance. She can turn into a dog, giving her the ability to run super fast like a dog and she looks like a dog. But because it's modeled after the Okuchi no Makami, allowing her to literally shoot out ice and freeze stuff. So with that said, it's very possible that Luffy does in fact have a Zoan fruit which gives him one of the abilities of being rubber. But chapter 1043 delves even deeper into this idea and that Luffy's devil fruit is connected to Joyboy and even comprises of his essence of some sort. You guys confused about now? Don't worry, because we're going to be breaking down everything. Okay, so the chapter starts with Luffy getting absolutely pummeled by Kaido's Kanabo, with Kaido looking disgusted, embarrassed at the fact that once again after 20 years of waiting for someone worthy, he is met with the same fate as his fight with Odin, his battle being interrupted where he once again came out as the victor with an excuse. Luffy on the other hand, blood and air gushing out of his mouth, starts to deflate like a balloon and comes out of his gear fort. At this point, Momonosuke panics as he no longer is able to hear Luffy's voice. Momonosuke's voice of all things became so advanced where he was able to listen to everything around his surroundings. This very much parallels Aisha's observation hockey where she was able to listen to everyone's battle during Skypiea. We then flip a page where a big double spread is revealed with Kaido proclaimed as the winner of the battle.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Listen guys, these narrator blocks mean something, okay? It's supposed to speak facts. It's literally Oda, right? It's literally Oda writing what's happening in the story. It can't be a lie, right? Well, we see Luffy slammed on the ground with his eyes blanked out in utter silence. The CP0 also tips his hat as Kaido asks if he understands what is about to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure no one wants to be in this guy's position. Kaido swings his Kanabo, one shot KOing this agent as he takes the brunt force of Kaido's anger. As the rooftop crumbles even more, the third CP0 agent understands that his comrade has likely been taken out. Like, come on, that guy's dead. But before we do move on to the life lore and the rest of the chapter, we gotta talk about Luffy. Is he really down? Has the raid failed? out. Did Luffy lie to everyone when he said he got this and he's gonna win? Well, no. Luffy has been defeated by Kaido, but Joyboy hasn't. Okay, look. What I mean is this. By the end of the chapter, Zunisha essentially confirms that Luffy is Joyboy. Luffy is smiling like we would expect of Joyboy, you know, given his name. He has already used his final gear fort and his heart is beating like the drums of liberation. The Pirate King's engine has fired up. What else could it be? Other than gear 5th, the awakening of the Gomu no Nika no Mi, you know what I'm saying? And tell me guys, you don't know that ballsy prediction hockey didn't come true. I have been saying Luffy is Joyboy for years now. Not Momo, not Dragon, not Yamato, it's Luffy. What I'm saying here is that the fish people weren't the only ones waiting for Joyboy's arrival. But to reiterate, Joyboy was a ruler during the time of the Void Century, and in his mission to unify all races, giving everyone equal footing, we learned that he promised the Poseidon of his time that he will bring the fish people into land, where they will be able to see the sun and feel free to travel with no discrimination. However, even though this promise wasn't met, it's alluded that Joyboy will eventually fulfill his end of the bargain. That's why the Sea Kings kept the ship Noah safe for 900 years. Joyboy's dream will be achieved, and all the instructions along with the background to his mission was all left in one piece, which we all know is located in Loftail. But with all that said, the idea of reincarnation or inheritance of will in the case of Joyboy came from the prophecy revealed in chapter 968, where Odin and Roger overhears the Sea Kings say, "The birthing is at hand. Our sovereign will soon be born, and another in a distant sea. The whales are delighted in anticipation of the day the two sovereigns shall meet again." Anyways, my interpretation of this conversation is that these two sovereigns are the reincarnation of the two rulers during the time of the Void Century, where one being Poseidon and the other being Joyboy. And as the prophecy suggests, they will once again meet, like they did when Joyboy made his promise. We know that Shirahoshi is the reincarnation of Poseidon from chapter 650. This understanding is also reinforced by Odin and Kaido later on in the story, as in chapter 968, in Odin's flashback, it was clearly mentioned that Joyboy would return to the world and shake its entire foundation. That time is now, and the implication was that Joyboy had already been reborn somewhere in the world, which was around 20 years ago from the start of the story. Keeping that in mind, in chapter 1014, Kaido, after defeating Luffy, states that he couldn't be Joyboy either, thinking he had killed him, where later he was proven wrong, which means that at one point Kaido had the thought that Luffy could have been Joyboy. So now let's finally get into why Luffy fulfills all the roles of actually being Joyboy. Firstly, no one can deny that Shirahoshi is Poseidon, right? Going from that and the foretold Sea King's prophecy, we know that this would mean that Luffy's encounter with Shirahoshi would hold extreme importance, as the prophecy is a reference to the meeting of the two. Now another indication is from chapter 610 with Madame Shirley or Sharky's own prophecy about a man with a straw hat, highly likely being Luffy, destroying Fishman Island. The only reason Luffy would do that and destroy Fishman Island is to finalize the promise made by Joyboy. Once the fish people move to land, Fishman Island will no longer be necessary. But Fishman Island is directly under the Red Line and Marijoa. Going back to all our previous videos on what is One Piece, the Red Line has to be destroyed or a hole has to be put in there to achieve all blue and a free sea. We speculate that this hole will be blown directly on the spot where Marijoa sits. Now we're not done here, as at the end of the chapter we see Luffy's hair almost melting, and we know why. Yes, it's got to do with the nature of his devil fruit, and like I said, he does have the properties of rubber, and his heart is pounding extremely fast and loud because, you know, that's only possible because his heart is actually rubber. This extreme pounding of his heart is producing an unreal amount of heat and energy, awakening Luffy into something which is unimaginable. And very likely this form was notable because of Sun God Nika, who I believe to be Joyboy, who exhibited this awakening himself. But guys, to really understand this, I have my Nepali brother Sid, who will even go deeper into the origins of the Wisdom King fruit, Hanuman, and exactly how Luffy is doing all of this.
Thanks, Yusuf. Now, before I get into the juicy stuff you just spoke about, I want to quickly turn us back to the chapter where on the live floor of the castle, debris is falling down. where thousands of samurai are still stuck inside. Kawamatsu tells everyone to get out as dying by fire is a dishonorable death. Kaido breathes down a massive Boro breath and enters the live floor looking for Momonosuke. Since Luffy is beaten, there is no one else who can challenge Kaido as he wants a surrender by the samurais, and Momonosuke as their leader is the only one who can do so. Kid then says that his hollow dream has been shattered, and along the same lines, Law doesn't even believe that this is reality. Like, what? Luffy losing? What? Chopper, Tama, and even Nami are on the same boat where they don't believe that Luffy could have lost. And Nami comes out and yells at Kaido that there is no freaking way that Luffy has lost. But Kaido ain't having none of it as he fires a Boro breath straight at Nami. Luckily though, Marco is right there to dispel it. Kaido then announces that Onigashima will be dropped on top of the flower capital as planned, and he will destroy Wano and turn it into a weapons factory, enslaving all the citizens of Wano. The ones who refuse to work will be killed. That this is their fate now. As slaves, they can easily be replaced. Anyone who opposes Kaido will face his wrath, as this is what means to be defeated in a war. The samurais freak out in the background as Kaido continues saying that the price of defeat is the people's human rights and hopes. This statement by Kaido is quite sad to see, as we saw in King's flashback, and even when Kaido thought back to his time with Big Mom, he was a young guy who wanted to be Joyboy with light in his eyes, liberating King from Punk Hazard, as he was also being experimented on based on his species, seen only as a way to create weapons. Similarly now, Kaido is seeing Wano and the people of Wano as simply means to create weapons. Kaido demands Momo's surrender since he has no fighters left to challenge him. The remaining beast pirates, emboldened by Kaido's supposed victory, start to attack Law and Kid to claim the bounties on their head, as they are both weakened and totally exhausted after defeating Big Mom. However, the Kid pirates and the Heart pirates come in for the rescue and protect their captains. Nekomamushi and Carrot are also running to the fight again, and Law and Kid also stand up, readying their attacks with the last drop of stamina they have left. They both agree that surrendering is out of the question. They'd rather be killed than yield to Kaido. We then cut to Momo, who is ready to throw in the towel. He has lost all hope as he can't hear Luffy's voice anymore. What can Momo do when not even Luffy could beat Kaido? But Yamato tries to calm him down. She tells him that they need to keep fighting as that is the way of the samurai. She says that she won't forgive Momo as they are the last hope of Wano since everyone else is at their limits. Even if they surrender, they will just be turned back into slaves until the day they die from exhaustion. Surrendering won't be saving anyone. This is the exact reason all the daimyo who appeased Orochi and Kaido 20 years ago went to their graves with regret. The last 20 years of Wano will have been meaningless if they surrender. Yamato says that she would rather die together with everyone than bow down to Kaido and have no freedom for the rest of their lives. After this pep talk by Yamato, Momo seems determined to keep going, to keep fighting. But meanwhile, we see a zoomed out view of Onigashima floating. There we see Luffy on the ground totally beaten up. But then suddenly we hear a heartbeat. The heartbeat starts getting louder. Boom, boom. It's as if Luffy's heart has just restarted. Because remember, earlier in the chapter, Law and Momo make it a point that they can't hear Luffy anymore. They can't sense him, and even Kaido proclaims that Luffy is dead, suggesting that his heart might have stopped. Just as this sound is heard, Zunisha calls upon Momo, saying that he can hear the sound which takes him back 800 years into the past of the Void Century. He can hear the drums of liberation. He can hear Joyboy, that Joyboy has returned. Now, I'm not gonna focus too much on Joyboy as Yusuf already explained why this makes sense that Luffy is Joyboy, but I do want to mention a connection between Zunisha's words and Bink Sake. If we read a few verses from Bink Sake's song, song, it kind of predicts what has happened to Luffy. It reads, "If you lose your nerve, this breath could be your last," referencing Luffy claiming how in the last chapter that he had one attack remaining. This was all or nothing. If he fails, he's gonna lose, even stopping his steam or breath to escape his mouth. The song continues saying that now the waves are dancing beat upon the drums, but if you just hold on, the rising sun will rise. Now in this very chapter, we see waves flowing with the heartbeat sound echoing across them as if they are dancing to the rhythm. Luffy, holding on to his promise to the samurai and Momonosuke, has now given rise to the morning sun. Hence why in the final panel of this chapter, Luffy's smile is written in hiragana as Nika, the sun god, the one who will bring dawn. Now on the topic of the final panel, what the hell is happening to Luffy? You guys seeing this? He's literally melting, bro.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Yes, Luffy is melting with his hair all curled up. Now, this melt being Joyboy or the sun god Nika Awakening is quite clear. As a silhouette we see of Nika, his hair kind of looks similar to what Luffy's hair is turning into. But the main point I want to focus on is how his hair looks like a mop, kinda like a dripping fluid. And this is where I would like to introduce the Hito no Mi model Nika, or the oil fruit. And this theory also lines up with our Wisdom King theory from last week, so hear me out here. This theory was first suggested by Rudon, so shout out to him and the Reddit user Spiritual Scumlord. Basically, Luffy's heart is like an engine, where when he went gear second, his legs literally act like hydraulic pumps which power engines. And on top of this, he pumps his blood faster, similar to the hydraulic pump, to become fast in gear second. So just like an engine would, his body overheats and turns red, steaming all over. Also, oil is nearly as resilient to electricity as rubber. And if you guys didn't know, rubber is made from a type of oil. This even explains how Luffy is able to use Red Hawk and flame attacks. Oil allows heat to move through it while being relatively untouched, which explains how Luffy can ignite himself on fire where excess heat is caused by pumping his blood due to friction, while remaining unharmed by fire attacks. Coming back to the chapter where his heart is beating like literal drums, which can be explained too by this theory where Luffy, just like an engine, is getting his heart to beat harder and harder in each gear he uses, essentially overworking his heart. And remember, when Luffy, every time he used gear second, he would be decreasing his lifespan as his heart can only take so much. Also, the word gear is very significant. It's kind of like changing gears on a manual car, where changing gears is about using the engine's power in different ways to match changing driving conditions. The driver uses the gear shift to make the engine generate more force or more speed depending on whether hill climbing power, acceleration from a standstill, or pure speed is needed. Honestly, this should sound familiar to you guys, you know? Gear second is for speed, gear third is for raw strength, Snake Man for maneuverability. That word is so hard to say, wow. So by this logic, Luffy's Gear 5 Awakening will have to result in his heart pumping the hardest, the loudest, similar to the drums of liberation playing. Also, the rubber-like properties Luffy showcases, especially with his stretching, can be explained by how the viscosity of the oil is much higher even to the molecular bonds than, let's say, water. This is also the reason when you pour oil into a pan, it remains intact. The molecular bonds don't break, but instead space out. Even the elasticity of rubber supports this, where rubber can only stretch straight and come back, but Luffy bends his attacks to his will in mid-air. Even Kaido points this out in chapter 1042, how rubber shouldn't be able to do this. The thematic aspect of this theory also sort of makes sense, where you need oil to burn the lantern of liberation and freedom. And even our Wisdom King theory makes sense, where Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is based off of the Hindu god Hanuman. And I know all of you Indian viewers know about Hanuman, right? What do we pour on Hanuman statues when we go to the temple? Orange kesari, of course, which is sort of like a orange oil. Even Hanuman's dad being Pawan, who is the god of wind, links with Luffy's dad, Dragon, being seen with wind all around him. And don't get me started on Enel, who is the quote god of heavens, and his link to the god Indra in Hinduism, whom Hanuman got some beef with, is pretty clear. Now credit goes to 333vil for some of these connections, but we have found even more information on the oil fruit or the Hanuman fruit theory, including the Hindu poem, the Hanuman Chalisa, about Hanuman. Like it's in the name. So make sure to ding that notification bell and get this video to 20,000 likes for a collab with 333vil in the coming weeks, where we discuss the Hanuman link. You know, I remember when I was a kid, like I had to memorize the whole Hanuman Chalisa as like a Hindu boy growing up in Nepal, you know what I mean? So we got some information. Anyways, make sure to watch this video we made about Luffy's fruit being the special fruit which the world government is so afraid of, and why Shanks stole it from the world government.